Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pate. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Step right up. Get your floorcast mat. Yes, indeed. These floorcast mats are perfect for any floor recording. You, sir, I see you gawking. Interested in acquiring one for your own private recording studio?
Floorcast, huh? I must admit I have heard of this. I don't know. It just looks like a yoga mat to me.
Oh, hogwash, sir. Would a plain yoga mat come with its own commercial jingle? Hit it, boys.
Yeah! I'ma get my forecast. Get up and sit my deck down and work for your forecast. Why you standing up when you could be laying down? Forecast. Oh, wow, was I wrong? You know what? On second thought, I'll take 3 of them.
That's what I thought. You bet you will.
The fuck?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Just going to be honest up front, have not been doing very well. Been trying to basically keep myself alive and keep going with the podcast and with my life in general. Sorry for the repost last week, but I did promise a new episode this week. So I am coming to you live from the floor again, and I just thought I would get this out. I apologize if this one's a little bit messier. Probably won't be able to do much editing on this one, so I'll try to keep it succinct and I'll try to keep it, flowing and as quality as possible. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I thought I would talk a little bit about a disturbing trend, or a trend, I should say. Maybe it's not disturbing to some of you. To me, it is just making the transition, but there seems to be a trend nowadays of a lot of entities in the art world kind of turning everything into a little bit of a pay-to-play situation. And I think that's because of a lot of factors. I think it's because everything is becoming more expensive. There's so much uncertainty out there right now. There are a lot of factors that are causing people to try to cover their bases with, charging an artist to pay for certain services. And this could be anywhere from participating in a gallery show, a brick and mortar gallery show, an online art marketplace, a pop-up show, some of these digital shows, which I have done from time to time, like digital solo shows through galleries where they do a virtual walkthrough, or some of these shows that do like pop-ups in certain cities on marquees or in cool locations. Some of them are interesting, and they are things that I think we should all be exploring and looking into. But really, how do we kind of keep afloat, and how do we keep going with all of these kind of pay-to-play structures or people introducing more payment plans and things like that. How do we keep ourselves going in this kind of environment as artists? Well, I think the first thing to consider and the first thing to really focus on is making sure that you are writing off everything, making sure that you're taking good care to keep tabs on your receipts, keep tabs on all of your payments, all your shipping costs, all that, so you can write it off at the end of the year. So that will make things a little bit more, manageable as far as paying some of these costs if we can use them at the end of the year to write off and to kind of recoup some of these expenses. Obviously, you're going to have to be, registering your business as an artist. And we've talked about that in the past, and maybe we'll talk about it in the future again. But as long as you're doing that, you're taking your business of art seriously, you can be writing off some of these expenses, obviously, at the end of the year. I write them all off. Now, it doesn't, it's not like one for one. It doesn't really, recoup everything, but it does help. The other thing I would say is just be a little bit more selective with what you're taking part in. In the past, maybe we could take part in 8 online art marketplaces and have all of our stuff up and just be living in Fat City. Maybe we're selling, maybe we're not, but you could at least be up on a lot of these platforms. And, some of that has become a little bit more difficult. And I would just say be more selective. Do a trial and error with some of these marketplaces. Find out the ones that are working for you. Find the ones that are giving you a return on your investment. And, stick with those and maybe double down on those. And a lot of these platforms are also charging to advertise. So on top of the other costs, you're going to pay to advertise. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So be selective on that. If you have the income to do stuff like that, great. But I think the disturbing trend is that, this is becoming a little bit more difficult for the people who are really struggling to get by or who are kind of living painting to painting or art sale to art sale, kind of the equivalent of living paycheck to paycheck. It becomes a little more difficult. So we have to make sure that we are being more selective with the places that we're showing our work, being more selective with the galleries that we're submitting to, being more selective with the advertising campaigns that we're, purchasing, be more selective with some of these things that we experiment with, some of these pop-up shows and some of these other things that actually charge money too, or these art fairs, or, you name it. Art walks, a lot of these have a fee that you have to pay, or you have to pay for a booth, or you have to pay for this and that. It's always been something that we've had to worry about. I just find that now it's a little more difficult because everybody seems to be charging and all the costs seem to be going up. And that's very difficult for an artist because we're not all just across the board raising our prices, because art is not necessarily something that we have to have. It's something that we want to have. It's something that we would like to have if we have the income. But in tough times, people are going to probably not be buying art as much. So it's not as easy for us to just raise our prices to go along with inflation all the time. I think we should be. I think there should be somewhat of like an artist guild or something like that, like the equivalent of being an actor, being in SAG or being in AFTRA or whatever, paying some dues into something like this, or maybe not even paying dues, but having a group that kind of has solidarity that says, look, we're not going to be just lowering our prices across the board just to be competitive. If we all keep our prices strong and we all keep our prices steadily increasing across the board, then people are going to have to just, fall in line with that and buy stuff. When you see other artists kind of lowballing or cutting lower than the other artists just to make a sale, that doesn't really help any of us. So I would say that's another thing to think and to consider, is to keep strong with your pricing. Don't think about, I got to just always be the sales artist, or I got to just always cut my prices to be able to sell. I think if we stay strong and there's some solidarity and we think of it more of as like a rising tides lifts all boats situation, and we all stay strong with our pricing, I think that's going to help all of us in the long run to make better sales and to make more of a return on our investment. Now, the last thing I will say, just to keep this short, because obviously I'm not doing very well right now, but I think the last thing that we should really be considering is investing in ourselves, investing in our own websites, in our own methods of advertising, something that comes back to us where we don't have to necessarily be paying.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara. Again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
A cut to a different entity, or a commission, or a fee, or a pay-to-play situation, something that we can just be benefiting from 100%. We get somebody to buy something from our website. We don't pay a commission. We get all of that. And yes, sometimes we have to advertise, but I think you can get more bang for your buck now, especially using AI and things like that to kind of make a selective campaign or learn some strategies to sell a little bit more to your niche audience and stuff like that. I think those are some things that we need to be focusing on and doubling down on a little bit in the future to get people to come back to our site, to come back to our social media platforms, to come back and buy things through us, like directly through our studio, through our websites. That doesn't mean we stop selling on these other platforms, or we stop selling in galleries, or we stop doing pop-up shows, or we stop doing art fairs, or we start doing, stop doing any of that stuff. It doesn't mean that. It just means that we maybe start focusing a little bit more on bringing it back to something that we have control of. I've always been talking about that, but I also talk about having a balanced approach and a balanced portfolio. In times like this, I think sometimes you need to shift the balance a little bit more towards maybe something that you can control a bit. You keep the other things going, but you focus more of your resources on that, so you can get a little bit more of a bang for your buck, a little bit more of a return on your investment. And, maybe it'll make up for some of these other fees and expenditures that we're having to pay. So I just wanted to talk about that today because it's something that's on my mind a little bit. Times have been extremely tough for me. And so I'm feeling a lot of this stuff even more intensely. And I'm sure a lot of you are too, that are struggling out there, feeling some of these fees and some of these, these pay to play situations, or just the rising costs of being an artist nowadays. I'm sure some of you are feeling that. So these are just some things to think about, some strategies that we can put into place that might help offset and, lessen that burden a little bit. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Thanks for listening to the podcast. As always, everybody, be good to yourselves, be good to everybody else out there, and we'll see you next time on the next episode. All right, bye-bye.
Why you standing up when you could be laying down? Floorcast.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.